variety of amazing guests. We visit the past. We ponder our future as we exist in the here and now. At This Moment with Angela Black, Thursday evenings, Studio B on Revolution Radio.
Did you ever feel that things were not quite right? That everything was just ever so slightly askew?
Do you have, to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
Ancient cultures and structures,
monatomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
downloaded to your brain,
then tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
and I'm Mackie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here. The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hello, one and all. This is Brian Porter. The show name is I Am Nature. What we do on this show is we explore topics of the environment, ways to improve things, different lifestyles like eco-village development and whatnot. And I usually start by sending a big hug out to my producer, Angela Black. How you doing, Angela?
Doing well, thank you, Brian. Just got off air on Studio A and ready for another couple of hours. Can't speak yet. I'm still working on warming up.
Yeah, I was listening, and you're Miss Dependable. I mean, whenever they need a fill-in, they just call Angela.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm already in that slot for the first hour, so if Deacon can't make it, it's a no-brainer. It's pretty easy for me to smooth into the second hour, and my thanks to the Crow also for being my co-host on the show. It's great.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. I love listening to his views on the markets.
Yeah.
And so what's up on your show tomorrow night? Any big guests coming in, or what?
I have a good friend of mine whom I've known for about 4 years, pretty much almost ever since I entered the truth realm. And his name is Rupert Quaintance, and he's got a YouTube channel called Hi, It's Rupert, and quite an interesting individual who has some solid viewpoints on a lot of current topics on the planet and adds some humor to it. So we're going to have a 2-hour conversation about a lot of stuff, a lot of things I really want to get into, talking about mind control and whether it's direct mind control on an individual or an entire mind control of the masses via censorship, etc. So that'll be one of the topics we get into, and it's just going to be a wild ride. I look forward to it. It's tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on Studio B here at Revolution Radio on Thursday nights.
All right. Okay, Thanks. It sounds very interesting.
Thank you.
And right now I have Michael Baker back with us. He this is his second appearance on my show.
Yeah.
He's an amazing guy. He's living in Spain now. I understand, Michael, it's pretty hot over there.
Yes, it is. We're about 38 at the moment, and it's just gone midnight here, of course. But it's been over 40 today, and this heat wave is stretching up through France, up into the UK as well.
Yeah. I mean, this is fairly unusual for over there, is it not?
Yes, yes. It does build here in Spain, but I think it's a shock treatment for those in England at the moment because it's stretched northwards. We're used to it. There's something very delightful, actually, about this having a siesta in the afternoon. You pace yourself. You work hard from, say, early in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and then have a nice rest from about at least from 1:30 to 2 in the afternoon through till 5. And it's a nice way to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And you're not. There's no imminent shortage of water for you or anything like that. You're in good stead over there.
Yes. Well, where I am, I'm actually on dry land on the mountain, and I collect all the water in the wintertime from the roofs of the house and outbuildings. And for the most part, that sees us through the summer. So rain is a harvest in itself that we've taken care to protect in the winter months.
Do you have a system?
We do have a well as in addition to that, which does supply water in the very lean period of summertime. Of course, it does depend on crop growing because being dry land, we don't grow much of our own produce in the summertime. We concentrate on winter vegetables and winter salad crop. But we've just attuned to that in a way that is appropriate to the land. We don't try and do the extraordinary, because there are other people in other parts of the land, in the pueblo, in the township nearby, that produce surplus food. So there's a strong community spirit locally between the Spanish and the English people, and German people here as well, and Dutch people, and we share the produce. If we have surplus, we share it. We have a rastro, which is like a bring and buy, sharing, and things work very peacefully and pleasantly between people.
Well, how does that work, Michael? I've never heard of this. You say resto.
Well, that's what it's commonly called out here in Spain. It's where you bring your produce along and exchange it with somebody else for their produce. They've got surplus of something that you want, and you like to have that, and you agree a price. Maybe no money is exchanged at all. It's a bartering system. It's quite widely used actually throughout the transition town movement as well, which stretches across a number of countries. There are transition town movements in the UK, in Canada, in Ireland, even in New Zealand. So it's quite a widespread movement.
Well, I've done it with
organising themselves to share and barter and deal without their money being spent on the war machine, but with taxes, you see, that way.
Yeah. So you're still, in a sense, you're not living in an eco-village anymore, but you're still connected to that philosophy of life.
Oh, yes, very much so. Yes, very much so. Well, I say I'm not living in an eco-village, but I have a lot of contacts with eco-village movement. You've recently had Alberto Ruz on the program. Well, Alberto, who lives in southwestern Mexico City, he's very much involved with the Global Eco-Village Network in Mexico for the whole of Latin America. He's actually on his way at this moment to Findhorn in Scotland for the major Eco-Village Network gathering to celebrate 20 years of global Eco-Village networks. People are coming from all over the world to the Findhorn base in Scotland. I expect some of your listeners may have heard about the Findhorn Foundation community there. They have a very good eco footprint. It's about half the footprint of the average person in the UK.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, we've talked a fair bit about Findhorn on my program, and I'm really, as I was saying, Angela and Alberto have the same birthday.
Yes, and we're both blue monkeys. Although I know we're looking at the dream spell count and not the old count which you follow, and I appreciate.
Yeah, okay.
But he's a good one. I like Alberto a lot. He's a neat individual, as are you. So I'm glad you two are. So you spoke with him. You found out he's on his way to Findhorn, or?
Findhorn, yes. I'm in regular contact with him, as I am with Raoul as well. Raoul is on his way to do a premiere of his his piece of work with Land Awakening, for a showing in Italy in 2 days' time.
Neat.
Oh yeah.
So there's
great.
actually there's a lot of things going on. We're all connected. We're all moving around and spreading the news and getting people involved in making changes in their lives.
Now, Raul
sustainable living. And
yeah, is Raul nearby you in Spain? Is he not living in Spain, or is it Italy?
He's in Italy, but he's actually again, I've been in Skype contact with him daily because he wanted me to go over to Italy to the premiere of his film over there at Montebello, but it's not possible for me to go. And there's too much a carbon footprint, actually. I have to think about my carbon footprint when I travel. And I'd love to come over to Canada, but look at the carbon footprint there. It's great that we have these facilities like Skype and other communication methods that we can actually connect with each other and explain the changes and the big movements that are happening and following through with news of updates. We can do that without actually going and meeting people now. It's such a blessing.
It is. The fact that we can video conference a number of people now, and there's no cost attached. I think it's going to help people doing working at the smallest beautiful level on the planet to get organized.
Yeah, well, Findhorn does this regularly as well. The global the Gen conference will be networked as well for any listeners who want to contact Findhorn. They can watch it live.
Well, that's good to know. Do you remember the actual date of the conference? I'm sure you're going to be there.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to be there, unfortunately.
Oh, you're not? Oh.
No, I'm not going to be there either. I'm going to be here. No, I'm going to be here because there's a big artistic exhibition taking place here, and we're part of this living exhibition of art. So our commitment is here this time. No, that's the way the cookie crumbles, as we say.
Okay. Well, it's good that we got the word out about it.
Anyway, it starts on the 6th of July, goes through to 7th, 8th, 9th, I think, if I've got it right. It's coming up this coming weekend. It starts on the Saturday, the Gen conference.
Oh, okay. I thought it was later in the month, but you could be right.
Network, Gen. No,
yeah, you could be right.
It's definitely coming this weekend.
I'll check on the break, but I thought it was later. But you're probably right. I mean, you're better connected to these people than I am, so yeah. Well, that's great.
Anyway,
that's
there's a lot of initiatives happening, a lot of things really moving forward, and there's a need to do that very urgently because it's all set against the framework of the movements towards putting the pressure on for the Paris final meeting for climate change in December. So there's a lot of activity going on now.
Are you going to go to that event?
Maybe. I don't know yet. I mean, our great success at the moment that's happened in the last 2 or 3 days is we environmentalists have had a great success in the UK in having the fracking stopped in Lancashire, the county of Lancashire in northern England. There was a public outcry about it, and now I think the government in the UK is having to rethink the situation because so many people are against fracking.
Well, that's excellent. Yeah, I was trying to follow up on that. You gave me that lead earlier in the week, and I was saying they're stopping any more permits for future fracking, but they're not stopping fracking altogether. Would that be accurate?
It would be accurate to say that Crodilla, who had put in the planning application to have fracking as a first example in the new government of the UK, to have this passed through the local council, and it was refused by the local council on planning grounds, so it won't happen. So it's really it's brought about a big social movement in England. I've never seen before such a remarkable response through Facebook of people gathered up in arms about the environmental impact of fracking. It's so encouraging to see the network of people taking up action.
Yeah,
so
that sounds very encouraging.
Even if another application is put forward by another company to another council, I think the same results will happen. People are dead against it, and the word has got round, and people big time are not believing the government.
Michael, are they connected with the Rights of Nature movement, this opposition?
Not directly with the Rights of Nature movement, with MUMTA, if that's who you're referring to. No. I mean, this is a very interesting point that you raise, because people may put different hats on for different actions, but they're not actually purposefully networking with specific organizations. Deep down in people's hearts is a feeling they don't want any more damage done to the environment.
Yeah. I mean, it's still happening in a place like California, and I mean, there's shortages all over the state. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty. Water security is a big issue right now, and you say it's becoming an issue even in Spain.
Yes, it is. Well, in California, greedy people have developed greedy in the sense that their entrepreneurial skills have taken them to growing almonds on a massive scale. The almond trees particularly require a lot of water to produce good almond fruit. Nuts, to be precise. Not trying to be rude. And in doing that, it's not just taking the annual supply of the water that falls in California, it's actually taking groundwater out. In this case, in California, the water table level in some areas has gone down by more than 50 feet. Now, that's a lot. That's like, 18 meters? No, thereabouts 18 meters, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the actual water table level, and it's going down and down and down. I think in some areas, the water that's being extracted was water that was laid down 20,000 years ago. There's a water table level under the immediate soil level, which if it goes consistently being drained because of industry or because of intensive farming methods, then you reach a crisis situation because there's literally no more water. The ground just dries up. Now we've got another instance of this in Spain, Rio de Aguas, which is in Almeria area of Spain, a little further east to where I am, where one man's initiative, David Dene, he's found out all the laws that have been broken. He's taken the whole matter up, spent a lot of personal money and commitment of time, taking the whole issue up, first of all, to the Spanish government, then to the European Union, and to the United Nations as well. And he's done this brave man, he's done all this work himself. I mean, he's got about 20 people or so helping him now, but he initiated it all himself. Once again, it has stemmed from exploitation by one farmer who's planted thousands of olive trees. And it was entirely unsustainable, the watering system, to establish his olive production.
Okay. So olive trees are not... You're saying that olive trees do not require a lot of water as well?
They do, yes, to get a big crop of olives, especially when you're starting the olive trees off. If you're starting the olive trees, any tree that you start out in a dry area, you can't just feed it with surface water. You've got to supply sufficient water to drive the roots to go down in search of more water. If you plant a young tree and the roots are on the surface and you only feed it surface water, then it will only its roots will only stay on the surface, and it will be forever small and dependent on your water supply. So what you do is you put much more water in the growth of the tree in the early days, and that requires a lot of water to do that. Well, he's planted thousands of olive trees, and David Dene has recognized in his checking of the water table level that the whole a river situation is drying up. It's almost completely dried up, where it's been a traditional, what's called an ethechia, since Roman times, which always supplied water locally to local small-scale farming, has now dried up and is entirely unsustainable.
And this is in a part of Spain.
And this is in part of Spain.
Mm-hmm. Well, interesting. So you're a big fan of permaculture.
Well, yes, of course, yes, and driving up productivity in a way which is unsustainable is flying in the face of permaculture completely.
Yeah, I was going to say permaculturists would have said no. Don't create an olive tree orchard in this area.
No, certainly not intensive farming on a monoculture principle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, so his name is David Dene. I'll have to check him out. I put his name in the chat box here.
Yes, do. I'll give you a connection for him because I'm sure he'd be delighted to talk about it.
Yeah, because it's good to find people who actually commit to something and follow through with it and have success. And
he really has followed through and has had success. It's still ongoing, of course, but he's battling hard to get recognition at, as I say, EU Council level, United Nations level, and he's getting a lot of support now. He's being heard, but it's only through his persistence and his drive in supporting nature in natural ways, natural habitats, that he's managed to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've never heard of this chap. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to follow up on this story. So thanks. You're one of those guests that always gives me other guests to follow up with.
Yeah.
And I love that about you, Michael, because you've helped build my show with all your leads. And, of course, it all started with Raul. But, man, I mean, it's just
what's
awesome.
important is it gets out there and people, your listeners, get to realize there are a lot of people who want change. They want nature to be preserved, and they want a different way of living to what is being prescribed industrially and in unsustainable ways. The whole planet cannot sustain it the way it is.
Most definitely.
Some are saying now very clearly that unless there is success this Paris talks this winter, we the human race are facing the sixth great extinction. Our own extinction.
I mean, it's even in the mainstream media now. They're quoting all these professors saying yes.
Yep.
It's not hidden anymore.
No,
it's becoming common knowledge. My son knows this stuff. He's 12 years old. So,
and what's he going to say, Dad? Why didn't you do something about it?
Yeah.
This is why the indigenous.
I've been working on this for 40 years. I got it. This is
why the indigenous peoples speak about preserving unto the seventh generation your way of life, the sacred way of life that is sustainable with Mother Nature.
Yeah. Oh, that's,
wisdom speaks volumes about it.
We have to get back to that philosophy of life. There's no doubt about it in my mind. And we can retain our technology. We could just have to change a few things, like, we have to develop closed cycles. Like, I'm impressed with the Tesla battery. Have you heard about the new Tesla battery? A way of storing green energy like solar, wind, or whatever. And last week I had on an amazing guest who's got an even better way of creating wind power. But these batteries are awesome because they're completely recyclable. And they're also very efficient and good at holding power. And you can basically run a house off them and never have to be connected to any grid or anything of that sort.
Well, just think of that.
It's the same principle. Yeah, and it's the same principle as what you've got going with your water retention, but it's for energy. And all these systems are available, are doable. We don't have to invent anything. We just have to start using the technology that's out there. So nobody in the environmental movement's against technology. We're against technology that's unsustainable, like nuclear and coal and these things. But we love technology. Technology can solve a lot of problems.
And here we exist within efficient technology as well, because it's a known fact in the UK that the amount of energy that you actually have at the socket in your house is 28% of the total energy used to produce it. Only 28% is actually usable in the socket in your house when you use electric plug.
Yeah. So you're saying a lot of energy's been lost or there's too much coming through?
Yes. So if Tesla's battery system were installed in each house, there'd be no landlines, there'd be overhead lines, going for kilometers, miles across the countryside.
Oh, yeah.
Your energy is right there in the house.
Yeah, and this chap, James McCanney, he's got a system that will, with a couple of these big wheels, he can replace a nuclear power plant. Like big systems, he can scale it to any size. He can scale it to a town, a village. Each one would be basically a different size wheel. And this is not rocket science. He said, no. He's a very smart guy. He's taught all over. So I'm really hoping that this funding proposal of his will get some. We'll get some traction, and in 10 or 20 years, this could be a major solution to a lot of our problems.
And it's crazy that vested interests prevent this from happening because they want to keep the status quo because they're make a bucks out of it.
So you weren't encouraged, Michael, when the G7 or the G20 that said, "Oh yeah, we'll be off of coal by the end of this century."
Yes.
Is that not encouraging?
They won't be alive. They won't be alive to prove it either.
Exactly.
They'll be dead themselves. Ridiculous statement.
That's why we the little guy like you and me, we have to make the difference in our own lives, right? That's what's going to change the world. Not waiting for these politicians.
And the network. And network the information so that people know that something is happening. Because I've been to conventions where I've spoken with 18-year-olds in the UK, where they
we're going to have to save this networking concept, Michael, till after the break. Okay. So we'll be back in a few minutes, folks, with more of Michael Baker and I Am Nature. Welcome back to I Am Nature. I'm your host, Brian Porter. We have a most informed guest all the way from Spain, staying up late this evening to chat with us. Michael, are you back with us?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Oh, awesome. So we got cut off there. You were chatting about the importance of networking the message of sustainability. Yes,
I was. For example, the good news that just came in the other day that probably quite a few of your listeners haven't heard about. There was a Guinness Book of Records achievement the other day in Ecuador. 45,000 people came together last week, and in a single day of reforestation, they planted 647,250 trees of 200 species. So there was a massive attempt to reforest parts of Ecuador that President Correro of Ecuador had initiated himself. So there's good news.
Wow. Yeah, I read about that.
Oh, you did? Did you?
On the other side of the coin, though, unfortunately, I also read that they gave a third of the rainforest back to China. They sold it to them for $10 billion to cover their debt.
Well, there's still a big dispute about this. It's not finalized.
Oh, good.
I know there's this tacky business with China involved. I'm aware of it because David Dene, actually, that I've spoken about just a little while ago, he's also connected with Ecuador and knows what's going on there. So he would be a good person to speak more about that, more than probably I would, because he's been out there more recently.
Perfect.
So, yeah. But yes, it's not all bad news. I think that's what I'm trying to get over. There's a lot of networking of good news that needs to be done as well to hearten people up.
Yeah, and the mainstream doesn't cover there's just so many things going on at a smaller level that the mainstream says, oh, that doesn't have much impact. I'm not going to talk about that. Although that event in Ecuador, it may have gotten some mainstream coverage, probably at least in The Guardian over there. I don't know if there's an equivalent in Spain to The Guardian, but I find that The Guardian is a pretty progressive newspaper over in England there.
It's really gone progressive, hasn't it? Particularly on environmental things.
Yeah.
And political. Yeah. But then The Guardian always has been a good paper, the best of a bunch over there.
Yeah, and they sent I forget who it was, but their Bilderberg expert over to Austria, and he got harassed to no end. And he covered it all in the newspaper. And no, I mean it's there. I mean there is an awakening going on there. There's, in my opinion, there's no doubt there's an awakening. And on the other side of the awakening, I think might be a push more to be repressive by the powers that are against the good things that are happening. So we all do what we can, and who worries? I mean, I try not to worry because all we can do is what we can do, and stay in the light, stay with the good people like you and all the good people that I've interviewed on my show. I mean, there's so many good people. We far outnumber the bad people. Far outnumber them. It's just not even close. And that's what we have to keep in mind to keep going. Yes.
One of the good moves that's been gone on for 20 years or more now. It started with a lady in the UK, Shauna Crockett-Barrows, who began a newspaper. I think it was printed originally once a month. It's called Positive News. And she stuck bravely to publishing positive news on a regular basis, literally, as it suggests, quoting only positive news. First of all, only that took place in the UK, but gradually it expanded to positive news from all over the world. She sadly passed over a year or two back now. However, Positive News has kept going, and now there is a big move to get subscribers subscribing to a foundation of Positive News that will take it up another echelon, up into a wider public arena, which is great positive news, because that's what we want: independent news that is positive, not politically biased. Not economically biased, but gives the facts and gives it in a positive way.
Yeah, it came up on my show with the Parallel community.
Did it?
Miller and Natasha. They mentioned the positive news.
Right.
And I checked it out. They have a nice site. Yeah, It looks like a great source for information. Yeah, I was quite
Maybe
impressed.
You'll get somebody from Positive News come along and do an interview with you.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea. I'll have to jot that one down.
I'll be running this show soon.
That's funny.
Michael, I'd love to have you on as a co-host. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay. Angela's laughing now. Oh, dear. No.
I'm not a co-host. I'm just a producer.
I'm too old to take on any more. I'm 81 now.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yep.
Well, you're still going though. I mean, you're.
Don't be that surprised.
Have you slowed down at all?
I've got a green burial organised too. Just to let you know.
Oh yeah, how are you going to do that?
What?
How is that? How are you going to do the green burial?
Well, I'm not going to do it. The others are going to do it.
Right. Well, what's the concept? I hear about people putting their ashes, in when planting a tree. I hear that one. That's interesting.
Yes.
Well, how about yourself? What is your plan?
Well, it'll be a cardboard device that'll be disposed of in the woodlands, probably at Findhorn in Scotland. That's my community that I belong to, really, Findhorn. I'm actually a resource person for the Findhorn Foundation out here in Spain, you see. There's a network of representatives of Findhorn all around the world. I'm sure there are some in Canada as well. I can't immediately access their names, but they're there. Some may be listening to the program.
Well, if you know some, always looking for more guests, you know me. If you know some people who are in Canada that represent Findhorn, I'd like to meet them. I mean, I can't believe it.
I'm sure there is in BC.
I've had very little luck working with the intentional community here. I've tried many times to get them on. For whatever reason, they're not. They seem to think they have their own network going. They don't really need any publicity. So I've been a bit frustrated by that because I want people to know about what communities or what's going on more closer to home, because 90% of our listeners are actually American, and it's got quite a thriving community in the U.S., but it's not easy to reach out to them. So if you have some contacts with Findhorn in Canada or the U.S., let me know about it, because I'd love to get them on. I'd like to find out, get into this community and let people know about it, because I think a lot of people are looking for alternatives. They're frustrated with the situation they're in, the masses of unemployed people and whatnot. I mean, people are looking for alternative ways of living that are sustainable too.
Well, in the early days, when I set up Old Hall Community in England, that was 1974, I travelled, of course, to the States, among other places, to get the spirit and feel of communities around the different parts of the world. But in setting it up, along with a band of 12 other people, we had to be a little bit cautious about the media, because the media will exploit an angle on a community just to make it sound popular, which isn't necessarily the truth. And it can be, when you want to living in community, when you've got family, you've got children in the community, to get too much public exposure can be risky. It can draw attention to the community in a way that the community perhaps don't want. So I can actually understand both sides of that issue.
Yeah, well, I'm dealing with the higher ups. I'm trying to get people who are, on the boards of these, the collective, like the Fellowship for Intentional Communities. Those people. I mean, and just get the word out and just let people know that there's actually places to go on a website, and the communities looking for new members are advertising there, and just to point people in the right direction, right? And to promote their events. Like, there's lots of neat events going on. I'd say every second week, one of these communities is hosting an event, and it'd be good if people knew about it, and then they could go and learn about permaculture and learn about, land trusts and how to set up an eco-village and all this kind of stuff. Because in the U.S., it's harder. There are more restrictions against these sorts of communities than there would be in Europe. See?
Is that so?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, let me just.
I mean,
in Florida, you can't feed the poor without being thrown in jail. I mean, they've had some pretty bad issues over there. So it's quite. Every state's different.
They're not federal rules. They're more local then.
Well, yeah, I think that might be accurate to say. I don't want to create a blanket statement for the U.S. because there are, like I say, 1,750 different intentional communities living and thriving. Now, a lot of these communities are not very big. Some of them are like 5 or 6 people, but I'm sure there's many with 100. But I mean, I really would like to get more attention drawn to this, and I keep trying and I keep contacting people. So hopefully, I almost had one guy come on, and then he pulled out at the last minute. But I am
Brian. One of the best ways I'd recommend people understand about communities is if they took time out as a part of their holiday break. That I don't know whether you've got organisations in the States similar to the WWOOF organisation, Willing Workers on Organic Farms, or HelpX is another European one. Well, both these organizations give possibilities for people to visit communities. So you go on an individual basis as a WWOOF helper, willing worker on organic farms. And I know we've had a lot of people come over to Europe from the States, so I know it must be received over in the States, the advertisements, which bring people over to Europe. It gives people a chance to experience, say, for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month, whatever time they have spare, to live in community and do some work, become involved, and get to know people and get to know the ethos that is the driving force of that particular community. Because, like you say, there's maybe upwards of 1,700 communities or whatever. Each one of them will have their own ethos, their own flavor, their own way of dealing with contentious issues, dealing with the legal structure, and so on and so forth. And so to get that experience by visiting them is what I would recommend the best way if somebody is really keen to find out about community.
Okay, yeah, let's get that website up there again. Is it WWOOF? How do you spell it again?
WWOOF. Willing Workers on Organic Farms.
WWOOF.org, I believe, eh?
Yes. Or worldwide. Sometimes it's worldwide.
I remember looking at it after our first interview. And it's pretty much, it's set up similar to Jen. It shows communities all over the world in different countries.
Yeah. And in addition to that, we have another organization in Europe. I don't know how far it stretches beyond Europe, which is HELPX, HELP, with an X at the end. There's also couch surfing. I'm sure some listeners are conversant with couch surfing, where you can just go and sleep for a night in somebody's place on a reciprocal basis.
Well, that sounds interesting. Yeah, and maybe I probably should have asked you to do this at the beginning, but maybe for the people that don't know you, I certainly know you quite well, and I've had a lot of your friends on the show. Just do a little review of how you developed and how much time you spent living in eco communities and how you felt about it.
Well, I suppose it must go back certainly to the late 1960s when I got to know the Findhorn community in Scotland. It began in 1964, I think it was. But shortly after the beginning, I got attached to the Findhorn community. I didn't actually go and live there. I visited, and I kept in contact over the years, and my contact deepened with them now that I'm a regular visitor to Findhorn, and also, as I said earlier in the program, represent Findhorn out in Spain, southern part of Spain, because there's a network of representatives of Findhorn around the world. It's an eco-village community of about 240 people living in Scotland, and they do a lot of courses there. You can look at the website and get a lot of information. The best way to experience Findhorn is to go for an experience week there. They run specific weeks known as experience weeks, where you go there and experience the community in the week. Experience little gems about decision making, about how to work with people in a different way, where you understand work in a different way, which it all began those years ago. But in addition to that, I then founded my own community, I don't own it really, a community of 12 families. I had my own, I was a single parent in those days, and my own 3 sons grew up in the community, and it was a wonderful experience for them. It led them into all kinds of wonderful ways in their lives where they've experienced the arts in one form or another, as musicians, as performers, because community gives that chance not only to work together, but also to explore art forms together and celebrate together. Community is important from that celebratory point of view. It isn't all about work. It's about celebrating and enjoying life together as a group of supportive people. So there's many different reasons. Anyway, I've been involved with communities and consensus decision making and conflict resolution for years and years now because of those connections. That's briefly about me. That's enough. I don't want to sound off. It sounds too much like my ego speaking then.
Well, I mean, there's not enough Michael Bakers on the planet, Michael. So, you can't be too modest. You've done amazing. I mean, what you've done, as I said to Alberto Ruiz, to establish an eco community or an intentional community is not an easy thing to do. In a world that's basically the opposite of everything you try to create there, it's very difficult to re-educate people on the benefits of being in these communities. And so, no, I think it's an amazing accomplishment. And you lived there for 30 years?
Yes. Over 30 years, yes.
And I never found out. I don't think I asked you. Well, and what led to your decision to leave and move to Spain?
Decision to move out. That's a 24,000 question, isn't it? Yeah. What decided to move out? Well, there were two things. One was I felt the community was getting too comfortable, too cozy, not taking the challenges up enough. And I like challenges in my life. I always have done. I've tried to find challenges that bring a spirit out in me of resilience to new ways, to new ideas. It's kept me young all my life. I don't see myself as 81. I see myself much younger. But that aside, I think what bothered me about the community and what I tried to do was to change the financial situation of the community so that young people could live there, because the way we set it up, you had to have a certain sum of money, a fairly considerable sum of money, in order to buy into the community. Now, I saw that as a bar to younger people coming in the community, and because we had a good track record, I got quite a famous bank in England called the Triodos Bank. I got them interested in the community and its track record, and they accepted that it was a very worthwhile investment and wanted to invest in it so that young people could come and live there without having a large sum of money to buy into the place. And sadly, after a lot of discussion about it, some of the other members of the community, and I have to bow down to consensus decision-making, of course, in saying this, some other members of the community felt, well, this is not the way we want it to go. And so I felt, oh dear, enough is enough, because, they want just to keep it like with the old ones there and not give an opportunity for you young people to come in and experience community life and grow up with their children the way my children have grown up there. So that was the story. That's the story why I ended up leaving, which sadly for my wife, she was very disappointed that we moved. But again, here in southern Spain, we've built up a network of people which you might say is a community on the mountainside, and we're looking at all kinds of ways of cooperating and alternative schooling and all kinds of cooperation ways going on, even a transition town initiative locally. So there's a lot of positive things always can come out of any situation, which I think is what gives me heart always, always finding the positive out of it. And it's working out here. Things are going well.
It sounds like you're doing wherever you go, Michael, you have that energy that Moomta talks about. You have the ability to you just have a magnetic personality that can draw the best out of people, and it's people like you are rare on this planet, and it's beautiful to talk to you, to hear about what you've done. It sounds to me like you kind of outgrew your own community. Would you say that's true? I mean, it sounds to me like you're the kind of guy who said, "Hey, we're doing well now. We've got all the food we could ever eat, and we've got." Things are good here. Why don't we take some of our energy now and try to fix things going wrong on the planet, maybe, or something like that? Was that kind of what you were trying to do?
Very definitely. Very definitely, yes.
Yeah, and you know what? And that's kind of what I'm finding with my attempts to connect with the American communities. I think a lot of them are older, well established, and well, we don't need new members. Why would we want to talk to someone, about what we're doing here? So, yeah, so I see how that can develop, and hopefully the old hall will stay there. I see they still have the website going, and do you still have contacts at the old hall?
Oh yes, yes, but literally they're getting to the stage now where. Sorry.
No, it's okay. We'll pick it up after the break.
Okay.
We'll be back soon with Michael Baker and I Am Nature. Welcome back to I'm Nature. I'm your host, Brian Porter. I have a very special guest with me, Michael Baker. And this is the time in my show when I usually put out the message to the listener that this station is the largest radio station on the internet that is listener supported. We do quite well in the ratings of internet radio. And it's because of you, the listener, that we're still here. And we've been going strong now for 5 years. We've actually gotten bigger over the years. And we now have 2 24-hour platforms running at the same time. I find one of the best ways, it's to your benefit to subscribe to the archives, which are $5 a month, the cost of a Starbucks coffee in this economy. That you can download any show from any of the 80 hosts. You can listen to it at your leisure. I often put them on my phone, and when I have a long drive to take, I do a fair bit of driving with a family that's 300 miles apart from me. So anybody else in that situation, it's a great way to shut the radio off and listen to something informative while you're in your car. So. It's very easy to do. To subscribe to the archives, you just go to the website and follow the links. And there's all sorts of other options like seed banks and things of that sort. So please support freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio, one of the best places on the planet to keep up with the news and what's really going on. And okay, Michael, we're back with you now. How you doing?
All right, and hearing what you were saying, I'd go in the way Alberto would say it. Aho!
Aho!
See.
How much time have you actually spent with Alberto, like in person?
Quite a bit. We had him come over to Glastonbury in England a few years back on 2 occasions. He is a peace pipe carrier as well as a Rainbow Peace Caravan Arco Iris specialist in what he's done throughout South America in his journeys. But we had him over to a Maya Dreamtime Festival we had in Glastonbury, and we had a wonderful time together. He is a great ceremonialist as well, and well, it was a great time. He is a brother of mine, a true brother.
Yeah, I mean...
I know Veronica as well, his partner.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you've met Veronica.
No, I haven't chatted with her.
Veronica Sactor. She's a lovely lady.
Oh, I bet. And you have a lovely partner, too. I see she's on your website there. Do you want to put your website out to the public if anybody wanted to contact you about anything? That's something we probably should do, too.
Well, thank you. The website could be updated, I have to say, but it's www.mayasunserpent.com. I'm in the process of creating another website for beingnature.org, but that's not gone public yet, because I want to put together an educational program, both formal education and community education, at least for European countries, in support of Mupta's work.
Excellent. The rights of nature.
The rights of nature, yes.
Aha. And that's connecting with Rawls' work, too, Being Nature. He wants to make a movie. Is he still
on? Yes.
Is that still something he's working on?
Yes,
or are you probably working with him on it?
More or less, yes. I mean, it's the work in progress. I think
Yeah,
is the
of course.
correct phrase.
Yeah, I know you're you're involved in so many different things.
I don't go public until I'm sure of what's happening. But yes.
Okay.
Anyway,
Now, did
yes.
you ever meet Jose Arguelles?
Yes, we had both he and Lloyd Dean over as well to Glastonbury. Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we
Yes,
talked about that last time. Jose Arguelles, yes.
Arguelles.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's super cool. And I know you guys don't see eye to eye on the Mayan count, but nonetheless, there is still a great movement for bringing peace to the planet that exists. Yes,
absolutely. Yes.
Good stuff.
Yes, Alberto. I don't know if he told you the story, but way back in 1953. His father, Alberto Ruiz Lulia, was a famous archaeologist who discovered the first royal tomb at Palenque in southern Mexico, the tomb of Pacal Votan.
Yes.
The royal being.
Yeah, he told us the story, but you can retell it because I'm sure a lot of the listeners
Did he tell you the story about how when he was 12 years old, he was the first, when his father opened the tomb with a car jack, the lid of the tomb had to be opened, solid stone, it had to be opened with a car jack. And Alberto, at 12 years old, was the first to peer inside and see the remains of Paco Votan. What a thrill that must have been for him at 12 years old. Can you imagine it?
No, I mean,
I mean, his life was just, I don't know, something out of a movie, or it's just so much incredible lineage in his family going back a few generations. Yeah,
and then his walk in the current and present time. He's definitely walking the walk and continuing the path quite well. As
Absolutely.
Are you, Michael? As are you. And by the way, I love the fact that you did raise your children, and I remember this distinctly, that you have 3 sons, and they are a musician, a magician, and a puppeteer.
Yes.
And I think that's so cool. I mean, not everyone can say that they've raised individuals to walk in the arts, and that is an area that you very much promote in any community that you are in, is art. I remember that from the last conversation, that being such an important part of life in an eco community, and then of course beyond, like on your mountain that you live now.
Well, it really is, and it's creative work, and it brightens people's lives. It's part of ceremony. It's a part of community being together, that you can exercise and have fun together in a new, novel way, and in a complementary way to each other, and things develop from that. Music, uncles, aunts, as it were, in the community. It's a safe way to bring children up, and it's been very successful, certainly in our community in England and other communities I've known. It's always been the same story. The children grow up knowing and feeling part of the community, and when they get to teenage, they start getting interested in other things, of course, as they develop. But one of the learning curves is to play their part in the community. And there's an expectation for that, rather than just drop out and do your own thing. But at the same time, there's a great deal that can be given to young people by way of support and learning musical instruments by another person other than your parents, and whatever,
Yeah.
The boundaries are, endless of things you can do, particularly if a community is in a rural area where nature is abundant around you.
Yeah, Kasia Joubert was talking about how every child felt like everyone in the community was like a parent to them, or a grandparent.
Exactly.
And I guess the larger the community, the more options there are for the children, or there are more variety of learning experiences. But then on the other hand, if it gets too big, then the consensus model gets hard to manage.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Brian, because an eco-village is intended to be socially, economically, and ecologically sustainable. as an intentional community, but most aim for a population of between 50 to 150 individuals, because beyond that, the social networking gets difficult. Decision-making gets difficult. I mean, we weren't even that size. We were about 38 plus children. Well, with the children, we were just over 50, I suppose. But you take things like decision makings like when to artificially inseminate the cows. Not everybody wants to be involved in decisions like that. So the chicken group look after the chickens, the cow group look after the cows, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you trust each other to make decisions on your behalf. And it works. The system works when people know each other and have confidence in each other.
Beautiful.
I have a joke. I'm sorry. So, all right, we've decided that Joe, grab that syringe and go over and visit Bessie and impregnate that cow. Sorry, I saw it. I saw the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
was
sorry.
that your area?
I digress.
Michael, was that your area of expertise?
What, AI? No,
Yeah.
It wasn't. No. I used to love making hard. I learned so many different skills from this. So in the early days, we taught each other how to do electric wiring, bricklaying and plastering and all that sort of stuff. And then gradually, as we moved on into more self-sufficiency and built up our cow herd and so on and so forth, so we took ourselves to learning how to make butter. We took ourselves how to make hard cheese. I used to love making hard cheese and all the techniques. Well, I say techniques. It's a mechanical word, isn't it? I don't mean techniques, but all the skills using different butterfat contents and different herbs to make the cheese differently. It was a joy to do it and to learn it. But you had the time, you had the facilities, you had the skill, the know-how was quickly learnt because you source different places for information and you find these things out and it works. And it was absolutely brilliant learning curve. Yeah, I love it. So many things to learn about life and living with people and old ways of doing things. And being in harmony with nature.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people don't have all of those skills, and I think that's a really important situation that occurs as a bonus, and also as the one of the goals of these intentional communities is that everybody gets to learn all types of different ways to contribute to the community, and also, catch them on a bad day in the future. They know how to, wire this thing or fix that thing or grow this crop, or they're you're handy people to have around.
Yes.
Yeah.
And bless them, there are still people in the community that I started who are like that now to this day. And they still, muster in and just get on with the job. And it's running beautifully there.
Yeah, and so you would have a process of integrating new people into the community, I would assume, Michael?
Yes. And that's a process that shouldn't be taken swiftly for the sake of both the people coming, but also the community members themselves. I think we had soon adopted, after a year or two, we adopted a rule that nobody would join the community in under a year of getting to know them. They would make continual visits, either individually or as a family together, and gradually, in a process of getting to know, just working together quite comfortably and enjoying social events together, like maypole dancing or the Christmas pantomime or things like that, where they could join in and just play and relax, for God's sake, because so much of the attention these days rests on skills and work and so on and so forth. That reminds me about the beauty of work as the way it's explained at Findhorn Foundation Community in Scotland. and that is work, as Eileen Caddy once said, work is love made manifest. Work is love in action, you know? And that's a different concept of work, but it's an important distinction, because if you do something for the love of it, for the joy of it, then the community will function well. If you do it resentfully, because you have to, which is like so many people have to do in the economy outside, then people get disaffected and disassociated from the whole core of what they're about, because they're only doing something mechanically because they have to. Can you see the distinction I'm making?
Oh, it's absolutely like I've never lived in an eco village, but I've managed to stay clear of the regular economy most of my life, and it's it's a wonderful thing to feel free. Maybe be poorer than most, but at least you're free and you do as you wish. And I don't have to fight traffic every day and all those frustrations. And but obviously, my plan longer term is to become part of one of these wonderful places and encourage.
And of course, people have.
Meantime.
Of course, people have niggles from time to time. Of course, people have their bad days. It's interesting. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but it's interesting how the female cycles all coincide when women are living together in a community. That's quite remarkable. That just shows how women actually get in sync in community much easier than men. Man essentially still is a hunter-gatherer. The woman is a homemaker, and I don't want to appear sexist. Like, don't misread me, please, listeners, if you're listening to this. And say he's a silly old fool. What's he talking about? But I tell you what, women relate to each other much more readily, much easier than men relate to each other, and it's very noticeable certainly in my experiences in community how women get on well together and men don't.
Yeah, it's almost like a genetic thing with women, eh? It's kind of pre-programmed.
I don't know. See, in my experience, a lot of women are, and I'm not experiencing that now in my middle age, I'm in my mid 40s, but I have to say that usually it's the men who get along and the women who get quite catty with each other. So I'm excited to hear the opposite is the case in the eco communities. And again, I don't experience that now. I think as we mature, we find common ground much more easily when we're amongst like-minded people. So I suppose that's part of it. But I just in the U.S., it's quite the opposite from time to time. Usually it's the guys who get together and they go and they have the beers at the bar and they get to talk about their wives and that type of thing. But it is changing, I suppose, and I personally don't experience that. But it's neat to hear you speak about the opposite.
Also, I think men, when they got together in a men's group, as we did, we would talk about things much deeper than just the superficial level that you spoke of, Angela.
Yes.
We really got to the point, what are we doing? Why are we men doing what we're doing? What do we, there were quite some fundamental moments, where, dare I say, the soul was bared.
Nice.
You understand what I mean by that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. There were some very moving moments where men could really release and talk to each other in a very deep way, which you wouldn't normally hear. Certainly you wouldn't hear it in a pub over a pint of beer.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking for people who are soul-searching to even want to live in one of these places, right?
In a way, you are, yes.
That's kind of like the entrance criteria would be that you're looking for something different from the mainstream.
A deeper meaning to life, yes. I would, I just back off a little bit by talking about spiritual things or soul searching, really, because I know a lot of your listeners wouldn't subscribe to that. But yes, for some, that is very much the intent. Some are very spiritually aware, but other people just want want the fellowship, want the friendship and the cooperation on a very ordinary level. And that's fine too. There's no question. This is why there are so many different types of community. There's Tamara community in Portugal, in Europe here, where it's virtually run by a German family, I believe, but they go very deeply into human relationships, male-female relationships, and why, what is love? What is it about? And is it possessive in its nature? And they're very interesting aspects of community to explore. It doesn't necessarily mean that everybody has to jump into bed with everybody else and there's big sex orgies. It's not about that. It's going much deeper than that. No, but community, in one form or another, can form a framework to develop these ideas. And there many of these ideas are what people are in search of in their lives anyway. They daren't voice it because society doesn't give the vehicles to make people feel comfortable to be able to talk about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, they don't have an opportunity to even go there because they're too busy trying to meet the expectation of the money god, as I say.
Yeah, exactly.
And they didn't. They're light years away from even having the time to think or even be interested in it. They heard about it in the context of the mainstream. They think, "What? And this guy's from some other planet. I'm not going there." And this is one of the big obstacles we have when it comes to changing this planet, is that so many people are not connected to the reason we are here. And we're here to be custodians of this place, not to destroy it. We're doing the opposite of what we should be doing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Michael, you were over in England recently, and it was around which is a big time in your life. The equinoxes, the summer solstice was the last one, the last significant one, and you were involved in some sort of gathering. Could you share that with the listeners?
Well, yes, I was because of the summer solstice. It's for some people in the calendar. It's a recognized peak in the northern hemisphere when the sun is at its highest point. Now, the sun gives us energy; it grows our food. It's a very ancient tradition. Goes back certainly to Celtic times, to the Druids in England and Europe. That there was respect for these times of the year, the times of the solstice, the equinox, and winter solstice, as well as the summer one. Well, it so happened on this summer solstice that a number of us were at different points down what is known as the Michael-Mary or the Sun and the Serpent line, the energy line, which runs across southern Britain. Natasha, your previous person from Parallel Community, may have mentioned this because it's a very ancient energy line which goes across the earth of southern Britain. It comes in off the Isles of Scilly into St. Michael's Mount in West Cornwall, and then traverses across southern Britain, going out across the Norfolk coast at East Anglia at a place called Hopton. Now, this line, this Michael-Mary line, this earth energy line, is a masculine and feminine energy line, earth energy line, which has been doused by Hamish and by others over the years. And it's not a physical line that you can see. In fact, it's one of the interesting factors of it that interested my grandson, because I was at Bury St Edmunds, which is towards the east coast, where the line kisses, the two lines, the Michael line, the Mary line, or the Sun line and the Serpent line, actually come together in the old abbey, the ruins of the old abbey at Bury St Edmunds. And I was teaching my 7-year-old grandson to sense the energy line with his hands, and he was quite amazed because he could feel this tingling in the palm of his hands. He said, "Granddad, this is really true." he couldn't believe. He thought I was having a game with him, you see. And I said, put your hands up like this and just don't allow anything into your mind. Just open your hands and just feel. And he was quiet for a moment and with his hands up. And he said, yes, he said, I can feel something. Yes, it's funny. It's making a buzz in the palm of my hands, you know. And he was absolutely amazed at this. Well, this was at the time when Natasha and others were creating ceremony for the summer solstice down in Cornwall. And I was at Bury St Edmunds, and more friends of mine were up at Hopton. So at least 5 points, actually, along the Earth energy line, there were people who were creating ceremony to recognize the solar deity and the benefits of Great Father Sun to provide food for us, nutrition for the Earth, and so on and so forth. And in that ceremony, it was aligned up between all of us. And we were all feeling this same energy. And it was really a wonderful experience because other people were reporting it as well afterwards via Facebook and saying how strange it was that there was a particular feel to the energy this time. And anyway, that's what I was about there at the summer solstice.
Does the energy intensify at the equinoxes, like the 4 different periods, or does it change?
Well, actually, there are 8 different periods in the Celtic calendar. There are the quarter days as well. There are 4 for the solstices and the equinoxes, but then that's divided again into quarter days. And in actual reality of the Sun of the Serpent line, that's an alignment for Beltane, which is the quarter day that begins on the 2nd of May, which is a quarter between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. It's halfway between the two. So at that point, Beltane is the exact point that the Druids knew the sun would rise dead on the horizon at that point, where the line goes up across southern Britain, if you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm. So this is derived from the Druid school or from the Mayan school?
No, from the Druid.
Ah, okay. So okay, we'll pick up the Sun and Serpent Mystery School after the break. So thanks so much for joining us, folks. We'll be back in a few minutes with Michael Baker on I Am Nature. Oh, go to the chat box, Michael, please. Welcome back to I'm Nature. I'm your host, Brian Porter, and I'm with Michael Baker this evening, and we were talking about the Sun and Serpent Mystery School. We should continue on that vein now, Michael. What can you tell the listeners about the Sun and Serpent Mystery School listed on your website?
Well, can you hear me all right?
I hear you great.
It's a strange cross-reference here because originally Hamish and his partner wrote a book called The Sun and the Serpent, which was about this mysterious Earth energy line which they had doused going all across southern Britain. It was originally discovered, I think, back in 1923 by Alfred Watkins, certainly one of the earlier discoverers of this, the existence of this energy line. But Hamish and his colleague worked on this line and doused it all the way across southern Britain and wrote a book in the end about it that was called The Sun and the Serpent. He preferred to use those words rather than the Michael Mary line, although having said that, it's very interesting to note that on the description of this line, and I've seen the line marked on Ordnance Survey maps right the way across southern Britain, that the number of churches on the line which are either St. Michael or St. Mary is quite interesting. because there are many of them, and they follow the line. So it seems to add to the idea that it became something that was known much older than Christianity, but Christianity placed its seal of stamp of approval or whatever, or Christianized it in whatever way you like to describe it, by building all these churches and calling them St. Michael or St. Mary along this earth energy line across southern Britain, which had already been used by the Druids pre-Christian times. So that was the reason why it's sometimes known as the Michael-Mary line. But Hamish preferred to call it the Sun and the Serpent line because it fitted in with the construction of what he was describing on an Earth grid, which runs all the way around the planet. And the Sun played an important part in this because of the solar activity on May the 2nd, which is Beltane in the Druid calendar. And as an Earth energy line, a serpent energy, because it sort of snakes across southern Britain, it's not a dead straight line. It's something which moves slightly to the left or to the right as it crosses the counties of southern Britain. So that's how it got its name, the Sun and the Serpent. Now, that's one thing that stands in its own right, all that Hamish did with the Sun and the Serpent line. Now, along comes myself, with all the time that I'd spent out in the Maya lands, understanding serpent energy, because it figures very strongly in Central America.
Michael, can you just go into that a bit in terms of how much time you spent over in Mexico and living with Mayan cultures?
That began in the late 1970s when I first took my three sons out there, and we started a journey traveling through Central America. But it went on from the late 1970s right up until 2 or 3 years ago, I think was the last time I went there. I went to an Indigenous council meeting and attended the council meeting. And we did ceremony over there, but over the period of years, so probably about nearly 25 years, I've been connected together with my wife, and she's written books on it now, with the Maya teachings, not only of the calendar, but also other esoteric knowledge. And it was at their invitation that they asked if I, together with Patricia, my wife, would form the Sun and the Serpent Mystery School in England. And I stress the word mysteries school because it's not a mystery school in a sense that it's mysterious or it's a cult or something like that. It was expressly established to teach the mysteries of the universe, the mysteries of the sun, the mysteries of the planets, the mysteries of the stars, the mysteries of nature, all of it in a similar way to the way in which Pythagoras started a mystery school in classical Greek times. And the Maya indigenous elders wanted more people in other countries of the world to begin to understand and study the Maya teachings, not as the way to follow, but because it has instructions about how to live closer to nature, how to live within cycles of time, how to be human in the universe where there's a lot of life that's living that's non-human. So all of this is a way of studying it. So that's why the mystery school was set up at their request. And there are a number. There's one in Japan. There's several in the States. I think certainly 2 in the States. One in South Africa. They still exist, but they're just quietly working away. And we honor the ceremonies of the seasons and do various activities that when people ask them.
And so you brought this knowledge system to England, and you used it in helping.
That's
to,
right. Yes, it's available. Yes, it's available. Well, you would see on the website. It's all the teachings of nature and the spirit of education for community and everything that connects and networks people together. There's no mystery about it. There's no cult. There's no thing to fear about it. It's a universal spiritual tradition. Belongs to just as much to the Druids as it does to the Maya or to the Plains Indians of North America. We're all, which North America, of course, when I speak of Americas, I refer to Turtle Island, really, because the First Nation people refer to the Americas as Turtle Island.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but what sort of similarities did you find? A lot of parallels between the Druid system and the Mayan system?
Yes. That's what's remarkable about it. That really is quite incredible. In a system of using the medicine wheel for teaching, in a system of using ceremony for teaching. When I say teaching, the natural cycles of time, I mean, really, and linking with nature.
So when you say natural cycles of time, you're talking about the moon, the cycle, the moon, the equinoxes, and these sorts of things. That's what you're referring to.
Yes. But also the cycles within nature, the cycles of plants, the cycles of bees, the cycles of birds, of migration.
Beautiful. Yeah, so you're using it as a vehicle to help people reconnect with nature.
That's right, and it simply does that. And it's, we go back to December the 21st, 2012, where everybody was very excited and thought something was going to happen on that day, and some even thought that it might be the end of the world. Well, the Maya never, any of the indigenous Maya elders, they never ever spoke of it in that way at all. It's the beginning of a new era, a new 5,250-year period of time, that's all. And there are seating years. If you study the Maya closely, you know that they speak of the seating time, the preparation time. They had, if you go down to Honduras and go to Copan, you see a beautiful example of a seating belt where the elders used to sit, and it has stars across it, and it's a beautiful ceramic. But it points to them understanding a nature, the connection that humans have with the cosmos. And in that sense, they would speak of the seating years, and now is the seating years for the new era which began on 2012, December the 21st, 2012. And it's all going to move forward from there, and it is moving forward already, because of all these new initiatives that are really taking place in the human race at the moment for preserving nature and for keeping a sustainable relationship with nature. This is all part of the seating time of a new era of understanding between humanity and nature and the cosmos. It wasn't something that was meant to happen suddenly at December the 21st, 2012. It's moving forward now.
Right. So this is a positive period for growth for our relationship with the planet.
Yes. Of course it's challenging, but there's a lot of positivity in it. You've got the warnings from the Kogi, of course, and other indigenous nations, but if we listen to them, it can be a very positive time. It's our choice. This is the planet of choice in the cosmos. This is where we humans come to Earth to learn choice. We're having to make a big choice now.
Interesting. So this is Druid or Mayan wisdom, the idea that this is the planet of choice? Or both?
Both. I
Yeah.
can't tell you where that began. I can't. I don't. It just is. It's the beginning of a new discussion, really, about what we're learning as we incarnate, as we are here as humans on this planet. But we have learning experiences elsewhere in the galaxy as well.
Well,
I can't
go into
prove
that
that
a little bit. Go into that a bit, Michael. We still have about 10 minutes left. I find that kind of interesting. I mean, the fact that we're connected to civilizations in other star systems and whatnot. Is that what you're alluding to?
Yes, I am. Yes. Well, we're not only connected, but as a disincarnate being, we leave this planet, we go for another experience somewhere else in the universe, within our galaxy. There's a whole series of learning places, and one of them is planet Earth, where we come. This is why we're like New York Airport at the moment. Everybody is descending here. I mean, there's about over 8 billion people now incarnate here on Earth because they're urgently needing to learn this is the planet of choice and how to make choices. And then we move on elsewhere. This is only part of the whole story here.
Yeah. There's
that's
many
not,
other
that's
places
not,
where we
that's
can.
That's not what the Maya are saying. So don't associate that with the Maya. I'm saying that.
Yeah. This is what you've learned. I mean, this is the beautiful thing about being a philosophical human being is that I find that we all connect in our own unique way to the cosmos. And it offers us teachings when we're ready to understand them and benefit from them.
Yes.
And you've experienced, you've sought out knowledge. I mean, you've done amazing things to learn, and you've come to your own conclusions, which are based upon everything you've hit. You've touched all the people you've spoken with, all the people you've lived with.
Well, you see, if what I've just said has touched the heart, has touched the inner core of a listener or two to your program, that is wonderful. If there are others who doubt it, who dismiss it, who say I'm speaking rubbish, that's fine too. There's no right or wrong to this. We're here to learn, and it's pretty evident that choice is something that's very core to our foundation of our learning here on planet Earth, because everywhere you look, we have to make choices. So it's a pretty core issue for planet Earth. Now, it might just be that there are other lessons to be learned, as well as choice. And when we find that we finally move away from planet Earth or have come from other star systems where we've already learned things, sometimes messages like this ring a bell in people's minds. They think the yes factor starts up and they go, yes, that makes sense because of blah, blah, blah. That's why I'm saying it, because there are those who will recognize it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I certainly agree with you. I think that there are more than likely other places in the galaxy that are much more in tune with nature, and there are other physical planes. What was the movie? I'm so bad with names of movies, but Cameron's big seller, Avatar.
Avatar, I mean, yes.
Yeah, that incredible movie. I think it's still rated as the biggest box office hit. And within that movie
when's the next one coming out? Because he's got another one that's been made.
Oh, really? Yeah, I mean.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he's a Canadian, too. I have to proud to say he's a Canadian.
Oh, you better get him on the program.
The best. Oh, God. Good luck. But everything in that movie was so on the money for me in terms of. But when I watched that movie, and it was so beautiful, and the natural setting, I thought, wow, I bet you this place actually exists. that he
Yes.
may be depicting a place where he once lived.
Yes.
Does that make sense to you, Michael?
Complete sense, yes.
The fact that they had
Absolutely.
a physical conduit that connected them to the animals was beautiful. And I thought, well, that's just, here we have an energetic conduit if we choose to use it, right? In nature. But in this planet, you could actually physically connect yourself with another. I thought, well, wow, that makes sense to me. Why couldn't that be possible? And it was. Yeah, it's part of the whole awakening. That movie was a big part of the awakening for humanity.
You know,
and the fact that it was.
Yes, and sometimes in Buddhist terms, people refer to the passing on as a bardo of transition. There are 4 bardos in Tibetan way of looking at life when you're getting ready to transit and go into transition. And to me, that's the simplest way I could describe it, and I feel comfortable with that. I feel I'm in the first stage of a bardo of transition, and I should be quite looking forward to going when the time comes. There's no such thing as death. It's an illusion.
I completely agree.
And
it's
there may
been
be
used to
pain
destroy
and
the planet,
sadness.
Michael. It's been used to destroy the planet. People think, oh, this is my only life here, and I have to get the most I can out of it. It promotes the ego to think this way.
Absolutely.
And so I got to do everything I can. I don't care about what I'm doing to the planet. I just want to experience everything I can on this planet. And it creates an attitude of complete disrespect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what I feel is that, that I've offered myself in my life to the best of my ability. And I have had trials and testing times like everybody else. But I feel that I shall release myself with a degree of fulfillment and happiness in my life and ready to move on to the next experience, whatever that may bring for me. And that feels right. That's
right.
okay.
Yeah, I again, I agree with you. I think I too have been through many challenges here and fighting the mainstream attitudes, and that, I think I passed most of the tests, and I'm ready to move on to a place of more harmony than this one. And I came here as a teacher for the most part. My role here was to come and try to teach the fallen that there's a better way to live, folks, and that we can live in harmony with this place. And that we'll all be better off.
We're showing that way as well with when we're talking about community and social networks and global environmental initiatives. We're spreading the word that this is the way to go, and it has positivity for a lot of people to live their lives that way instead of the drudgery and the hardship that they're experiencing at the present time. There are different ways of being human. And it's very easy for me to say that in my relative luxury, because I'm not a refugee in a Syrian-Turkish border camp, for example. It's very easy for me to speak sitting in my comfortable chair saying this. There are a lot of people that have to endure great hardship. I recognize that, and I have the utmost compassion for them as well. And that's an important thing as well, is to have compassion for those who are less well off than yourself.
Yeah, I really think that's true. And all those poor people coming over the Mediterranean, country stolen, land stolen, property stolen by all the wars in the Middle East.
We're reaping the bitter harvest. We went out in 17th century, 18th century. My forefathers, if we call them that, people who lived in those days, they went out and plundered the gold. They took the slaves, they took the possessions, they exploited and raped and so on and so forth, and made themselves rich in London and Paris and New York and so on and so forth. And now the poor people of the world are marching and saying, we want part of this. So they're coming to the shores of the Mediterranean and wanting to get in on the act. You can't blame them for that. We're reaping the bitter harvest.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, it sounds like we're coming to the end of another great show on I'm Nature. I'm so pleased and so thankful that Michael Baker agreed to come back on and share his great wisdom with the world. Well, it's been my most amazing pleasure, and Angela Black, great producer. Thanks to Angela, and we'll see you next week, folks, for another show on I Am Nature. Bye for now.
Listening to Revolution Radio.
Enter into a world unseen on Raven Star's Witching Hour. You will encounter eclectic topics from the realm of spirit brought into our matrix of truth. With your host, the Solaris Blue Raven. Solaris will bring you an array of unique guests covering topics from ghostly spirits to amazing anomalies, covert technology, UFOs, and shadowy global events.
And that's right here, Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, Saturdays, midnight till 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Let the magic rise.
Hi, this is Bo.
And this is Rocco.
And the Bo and Rocco Show is here to offer insight into legal and lawful remedies. Our goal is to remain free and help others remain free in an ever-increasing police-like state. With the help of our guests, we try to answer questions such as what went wrong and what can we do about it.
So tune into Revolution Radio at www.freedomslips.com Wednesday nights, 10 to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to listen to the Bo and Rocco Show.
You don't need to expect us.
We're already here.
Revolution Radio.
Every Tuesday evening on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, we present our goddess spiritual warrior, Kathy Bilski.
I command. I call to the architect of the universe's divine creators and ask for permission to quantum leave the world in all life forms on all planes and dimensions, seen and unseen, connected with planet Earth, to let us go beyond our known potential into the greatest unknown golden age the universes and worlds and all planets have ever experienced.
Kathy teaches the spiritual truth so that you may create a better life and be able to make positive changes for yourself and for the planet. She helps us remember that we are not powerless, but very creative spiritual beings having an Earth experience. Time to quantum leap into the age of divine enlightenment and let Kathy provide you with the tools of knowledge you need to awaken spiritually. That's the Quantum Leap Show. Let Light Unite every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern on Revolution Radio Studio B.